The Street Files, a complete mystery short story, every Wednesday. File 43, A Perfect Life. It's the last Friday in July and it's hot in London, so Olivia Streete doesn't hesitate to accept the invitation to lunch from her friend Madeline Pulford, who'd left the city 5 years ago to buy a pub in a village 20 miles out into the countryside and near a racecourse. When they'd first met, they'd both been in their 20s. Madeline had been working in Michelin-starred restaurants and became the chef at the Teal Kitchen in Mayfair on her 31st birthday. Henry Pulford lived around the corner from the Teal Kitchen restaurant and ate there every week. In the end, he loved the food so much that he asked to meet the chef. They dated for 6 months, then married at the registry office in Chelsea, with only Olivia and a man they found passing on the street to act as witnesses. A year later their son Ben was born, and when the boy was 2, they decided to sell up and move out, and they bought an abandoned pub in the country. They gutted the place, extended it and put in a new kitchen, and today is 5 years since the day they first opened the doors of the newly named Barley Mow gastropub in the village of Lingfield in Surrey. Poppy has been staying in Crystal Palace overnight with friends, and Olivia invites her along to the lunch, then drives south in her red MG Midget from her apartment near Tower Bridge and through Bermondsey and Peckham before picking up her daughter. They escape the city's heat, and as they head further south, the landscape slides from urban regularity into fields and villages. The Barley Mow sits on the corner of 2 roads. Its 16th century main building is red brick, with a mossy tiled roof. This is the frontage that Madeline had been careful to preserve, no matter how much she tore from the inside. Behind the house, a beer garden and a large barn have been added, but in a way that makes it appear as though they've always been part of the historic building. Olivia turns off the main road and pulls into a large car park at one side of the pub. There are only a dozen cars parked, but there are 100 spaces. As they approach the pub, Madeline appears from the double doors at the side of the place. She has dark brown hair in a ponytail and lively green eyes. The women all hug. 5 years, Madeline, says Olivia. I can't believe it. Time has flown, says Madeline, and this lunchtime is something special. We've only invited a select group of our closest friends to celebrate the anniversary. I even managed to find one of Ben's friends to let him stay for a couple of days. So you won't see him? It gives us a break, too, from the wonders of 7-year-olds. Come inside. The bar is empty, but they can hear chatter coming from somewhere. We're in the barn, says Madeline, and she leads them through the bar to a long corridor that has double doors at the far end, which are open, and they can see the huge barn attached to the pub as they get closer. Inside, the place is 50 feet long and the same wide. In the centre are tables pushed together to create a square dining table with 6 chairs along each side. The barn walls are black wood, and the roof rises up to a central pitch way above their heads. Some people are already standing in groups and talking, and after Olivia and Poppy, others arrive too, until the 24 guests are all in the barn. The first person who Poppy meets is in his mid-20s, and he's wearing chef's whites. "Oh, Matt," he says. His blue eyes smile, and he pushes his fair hair across his forehead. "I guess you're the chef?" says Poppy, looking at his clothes. "Did you cook today's food?" "I designed it," he says. "There's a sous chef and 3 commies on today, so they don't need me." "What does all that mean?" says Poppy. "Sous chef is my number 2, and the commie chefs are the workers." "What made you choose cooking as a job?" she says. "My mum taught me. She worked as a dinner lady in the local school in Tottenham, but she always talked about restaurants. She had aspirations, but she couldn't get off the hamster wheel. of money coming in and hungry mouths to feed. I ended up cooking all the food for us to show her what was possible. What does your mum think of your success? Says Poppy. She died when I was 17. I'm sorry, says Poppy. She had a peanut allergy, says Matt. One bite and she was dead 5 minutes later. Her throat closed up. Poppy pulls her eyebrows together and drinks from her champagne. On the other side of the group, a tall man with large hands and grey hair walks up to Madeline and Olivia as they are talking. Let me introduce you, says Madeline. Olivia Streete, Charles Bourbon. They shake hands. Can I leave you two to chat? She says. I just need to talk to Matt. She walks away. What do you do, Charles? Says Olivia. I own the big house in the village, Bourbon Grange, one of the family properties that has been handed down through the generations. I happen to end up with this one. The house is enormous, though. Too much for me, really. He nearly finishes his champagne with a single mouthful. Have the Bourbons been in the village a long time? She says. 1,000 years. One of my forebears came across with William the Conqueror and was given this whole area as a thank you by the king for overthrowing England. Can you trace it all the way back? Says Olivia. I can't. I just believe the story, which is the same thing, really. He swigs back the residual alcohol in his glass. What about you, Olivia? What keeps the wolf from your door? He says. I'm a lawyer and an investigator. Interesting, is it? He says. All divorces and lost children, mostly, I suppose. Olivia pauses, then says, No, murder, mostly. Charles can't think of a response. How do you know the Pulfords? She says. My daughter Violet works for them as their wedding planner. This barn is a venue. Couples getting away from it all into something romantic, he says. That's her over there. He points with his glass, and Olivia turns to see a tall woman in a pale blue suit. She has dark hair and a fringe over her grey eyes. Excuse me, he says. I need to get this glass recharged. He walks away, and Olivia's gaze meets another woman in the barn who is standing on her own. She has light brown curly hair, and her brown eyes have a permanent smile. Olivia walks to her and holds out her hand. I'm Olivia, she says. Emily, you're the lawyer, aren't you? Madeline told me. She and I run the events business here together. I just met Charles Bourbon, says Olivia. His daughter works for you, she said. Is Viscount Bourbon? Says Emily. The 14th, I think. He doesn't tell people. He's a bit embarrassed by the whole thing. But his daughter Violet surprised me. She's a hard worker. I expected her to be flaky when Madeline first suggested she works for us. Violet had a rich girl's education in various small and unknown private schools scattered across the home counties. Has the wedding business been successful? Says Olivia. Too successful. Is that possible? It's a bit like a roll-on, roll-off car ferry now. An event every week. I'm not sure that's a weakness, is it? Says Olivia. Isn't that the idea? Get maximum utilization from your venue? I'm more of a romantic, says Emily. When we started this, I thought it would be special every time. It's not. It is for the couple, though, she says. They don't see the same thing being rolled out every week. Only you do that. Emily sighs. You're right, of course. When you offer escapism as a product, eventually you need to escape the escapism. They both smile. As Poppy is talking to Matt the chef, he looks over his shoulder at someone approaching them. Here comes Violet, he says, and he flicks his eyes back to Poppy. The woman stops in front of them. Hello, Matt. She smiles dishonestly. Who's this? I'm Poppy. What do you do, Violet? Wedding planner? She smiles again, but no more honestly. I've made this place the venue of the season. Everyone's coming here. Did you always want to do that? Says Poppy. Daddy wanted me to marry someone rich and spend my days on the sun loungers of the Boulevard de la Croisette. Violet checks Poppy's face. Can is lovely, says Poppy, realizing the woman is a points scorer. Did you rebel against him and insist on working? I'm only here for a while. I might do weddings in Cannes next year. I've achieved everything here, really. When you're number one, what happens after that? The beginnings of things are always the fascinating era, don't you think? Fresh, new, unexplored, unexplained. That's what makes me get out of bed every day. Lovely to meet you. Another smile is released. Then Violet walks away. Poppy looks at Matt. Do you work with her? He smiles, but he doesn't reply. Olivia is talking to Madeline's husband, Henry, who has light brown, neatly cut hair and pale blue eyes. Does out of London suit you, Henry? She says. You were in Mayfair for 10 years, so you must have got very used to city life. It is quieter out here, he says. That wasn't the question. Does it suit you? He looks reluctant to say what's on his mind. Then he decides to say it anyway. I did miss it after about a year, so I get back up a lot now. I've got friends in town, so there are plenty of spare rooms to stay in. How often do you stay in London? Every week, at least 2 nights. Madeline's busy down here, so we are ships passing in the night sometimes. By mid-afternoon, most of the 24 lunch guests have said their goodbyes amidst fulsome praise for the transformation that Madeline has achieved in the 5 years since finding the once derelict and forgotten public house on this site. Charles Bourbon remains, and he has been talking to Henry Pulford about land management for 40 minutes. Violet and Emily are going through their diaries for next week and standing at a tall table in the barn. Olivia, Poppy and Madeline are on a bench in the garden, and Matt the chef is back in the kitchen ordering food for next week. White puffy clouds scurry across a pale blue sky above their heads, and a gentle breeze rolls across England. The peace of the afternoon is shattered at exactly 3:03 p.m. when the sound of an explosion shudders in from somewhere nearby. Everyone seems to move at the same time. There's shouting and looks of panic and confusion that unite all of the people for the 30 seconds it takes Matt to run into the barn and call out, "There's a van on fire in a car park." They all hurry through the pub and all stop as they reach the outside world. A dark grey van is there, and engulfed in flame. It's parked in the nearest parking space to the pub. "It's Milo's van," says Violet, and she runs forward. "There's nothing you can do," says Poppy. "We just need to get the fire brigade." Violet stops halfway between the crowd and the van, stuck between her reality and her ambition. Someone calls 999 and they can hear the siren 7.5 minutes later as a fire tender hammers along the Lingfield Common Road and turns into the car park. It takes the crew 23 minutes before they're happy that the fire is out and the remains of the smouldering van are harmless, as vague residual smoke rises up into the light. The fire chief with the white helmet under his arm walks up to them all. "Do you know whose this is?" he says. "Milo Ricks," says Violet. "You know him?" says the fire chief. "We went out," says Violet, "but I haven't seen him for ages." "You'll all need to stay for the police," the man says. Then he turns to the Pulfords. "Can I talk to you both?" The 3 of them walk 20 feet away and have a hushed conversation, while the rest of the group watch them and subconsciously all try to guess what they're saying. They can see Madeline put her hands up to her face, and Henry put his arm around her shoulders. The fire chief shakes the couple's hands and walks back to the tender, which turns on the gravel and heads back out to the main road, then accelerates away from where it came, until it's out of sight. People drift back into the pub, but Madeline and Henry remain to one side, looking serious in their silence. Olivia walks to them, and Poppy follows her. "What did the fireman say?" she says to the couple. They look at each other and seem to agree that Madeline will speak for them both. "The van?" she begins. "Milo's van?" There's a pause. "He's inside it." Olivia frowns. "Oh, awful. Did the fire chief say how it started?" "Petrol tank exploded," says Henry. "But the door was locked," says Madeline. "The firefighters noticed. Milo was trapped inside. He was murdered." Another siren starts in the far distance, from the other direction along the main road, and a minute later a police car rolls onto the gravel, and 2 police officers appear. "I'll talk to them," says Henry. Madeline leads Olivia and Poppy inside. Emily is behind the bar and serving drinks to everyone. After 10 minutes, Henry comes in and stands near Madeline, Olivia, and Poppy. "What's happening?" says Olivia. "Those 2 police officers are constables, so they will isolate the crime scene and wait for an inspector to come from Reigate," he says. "Forensics will be here soon, too." "And Milo burnt to death in his own van," says Olivia. "That's what it looks like," says Henry. "Sorry for all this hanging around." "I could talk to Violet while we wait," says Poppy. "Milo was her ex. There may be useful background info I can dig out for the police inspector when they arrive." Olivia nods. And Madeline says, "He was a nice boy." "Did you know him too?" "Oh, yes. He was here a lot when he was seeing Violet." "Let's you and I chat as well, Madeline," says Olivia. "It'll help you process the shock." Poppy walks over to the wedding planner, who is sitting on her own with a gin and tonic. "Shall we go and walk around a bit outside and get some fresh air?" Violet looks sad, and she nods in silence. They step out into the garden behind the barn. "What was he like?" "Serious," says Violet. And Poppy notices that the woman seems different from earlier in the day. "Serious about what?" "He took the weight of the world on his shoulders." "You said he was your ex," says Poppy. "How long ago did you guys split?" 6 weeks. "Oh, that's nothing then," says Poppy. "Why did you break up?" "I dumped him." Violet looks at her, as she considers the right words to use. "He wasn't good enough." "How do you measure good in your boyfriends?" "Connections, financial viability, and the friends they choose." "What did he do for a living?" says Poppy. "Property entrepreneur." "A real estate agent, you mean?" "You don't like personal marketing, do you?" says Violet. "I like the truth," says Poppy. "As long as personal marketing is based on the truth, I like it." "Lifestyle if it's about the truth, though," says Violet. "A little dreaming never hurt anyone. I see couples every week planning their weddings to create a perfect day. A fairy tale that ends as they drive off in the open-top classic Mercedes into the dusk." Poppy watches the woman's face. "That's why fairy tales end when the couple gets together, you know. No one wants to think about 10 years later, when one has a maxed-out credit card, and the other has an STD from a one-night stand with a work colleague." She makes a tiny smile. "Dreams are all we have." Poppy wants to get back to finding out about Milo. "Did you end it with Milo because he didn't have connections or financial knowledge?" "He had those. Just his friends were not my sort of people. You can tell someone from their friends." "What were his friends like?" "Ordinary. Not dreamers, not aspirational. Happy with their lives. I thought they'd change. I thought I could change them." "What happened today, do you think, here, with Milo?" "I think he killed himself," she says. And Poppy frowns. "Why do you say that?" "He was flaky after I left him. You're not very sad about him, are you?" she says. He was my past. She's curt. We can't go on being responsible for our past. In the bar, Madeline makes coffees. Then she and Olivia take them to the barn, which is now empty. "Tell me about Milo," says Olivia, and they sit on 2 gold chairs normally used for weddings. "He was ambitious," she begins. "Started with very little in life and had done well for himself. He was dedicated to Violet, though. He would wait outside in the car park until she finished work, then drive her home. She still lived in Bourbon Grange with her father." "What happened to Lady Bourbon?" says Olivia. "A house fire a few years ago. The place is a fire trap anyway, all old Victorian wood. One wing went up like a tinder box. She was trapped. Violet was away at finishing school in Switzerland. She still blames her father for her mother's death." "Was he involved?" "No, nothing like that. She explained her position to me once," says Madeline. "Her father had destroyed their perfect life, is the way she described it." In the garden, Poppy decides to push Violet further. "Matt told me your dad owns a big house. Why aren't you at Annabel's private club in London, meeting heirs to the great British families, instead of going out with a man in a van?" "I'm a romantic, I told you earlier," says Violet. "Nothing wrong with that. I thought Milo could be more than what he was." Poppy looks serious. "I've upgraded anyway," says Violet. "Matt's my chap now." "The chef," says Poppy. Violet nods with excited eyes. "He wants his own restaurant soon. I told him to hurry up." Charles Bourbon lurches out of the doors and heads towards Olivia and Madeline. "The police need to talk to you, Mrs. Pulford," he says, and Madeline walks off towards a side entrance to get to the car park. Olivia quickly stands up. "A sad day, Charles," she says. "All death is sad, but my daughter moved on from him some time ago," he says. "I used to tell her she'd made a mistake when she stepped out with him." "He wasn't a suitable man in your eyes?" "Violet is all I have. I want to see her given every opportunity. The boy was fascinated by gossip as far as I could tell, always sticking his nose in where it might get bitten off." "Were they happy together?" says Olivia. "It's not about happiness, is it? It's about outcome," says Charles. "I can see you have a daughter, and I can see you have no wedding ring on, so I'm sure you'd agree that outcome is what's important. Happiness is a myth, a dream we're sold." "Many people are happy, Charles. I don't think I can agree with you."
My father had a favourite saying, "Never put up with today, because tomorrow starts in a few hours. You must keep moving, Olivia. The future's the thing."
"And yet your wealth is based on the past. If your 30 times great-grandfather hadn't been good with a sword on a beach near Hastings 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't be living in your big house." He looks thoughtful. Then she says, "Will Violet cope well with Milo's death?"
"She will. Sadly, she has already learnt to cope with the tragedy. Her mother left us 5 years ago."
"I'm aware," says Olivia. "A house fire, wasn't it?"
He nods solemnly. "Good often comes out of tragedy, though. I had to let some of the staff go after her death, but fortunately Madeline was just starting this place, so one of our cooks got a job straight away. He's still here, Matt. He'll go far. Now he is always thinking about tomorrow."
Poppy has exhausted all avenues of questions with Violet, and she winds through the corridors of the pub until she reaches the kitchens at the back of the place. Matt is the only one left in the room. He is leaning over one of the stainless steel counters with his laptop open as he checks food invoices. "Hey, Matt," she says. "We met earlier at the reception." "How was it?" he says. "The food was excellent." "Thank you. I wanted to ask you," she says. "Violet, she's your girlfriend?" "Yeah," he smiles. "You
got to aim high in life, haven't you? A rich girl like that. She started here a year ago. I'd wanted to go out with her for a few years, though. Oh, you knew her before she worked here? I worked in a big house for her mum and dad. She was 19 and came back for the funeral. The funeral? Her mum? Lady Bourbon. Did you know Milo? Violet's ex? No, all that was over when she and I hooked up. I'd like to think I convinced her to choose me, though. They were finished anyway. How'd you know? She told me, says Matt. He was fascinated by her family history. Kept asking them about their past. They're not like that. What was he asking about their past? She says. About the fire, was it? Says Olivia, from the doorway. Olivia walks over to them. Milo was interested about the fire that killed Lady Bourbon. He is interviewed here in the local newspaper. Olivia folds up her phone and shows a page of news from a year ago. He named you, Matt, in his interview, it says here. She turns the phone to read from the screen. There are a number of inconsistencies about the death of the late Lady Bourbon. She had no autopsy, and Lord Bourbon sat on the local policing committee at the time. Olivia looks at Matt, but he is silent. So she reads some more. The staff said they were not interviewed about the events of the night, and the whole official death certificate refers to accidental death. Milo goes on to say in the interview that Matt Ricks, one of the cooks, was arrested and later released. Why were you arrested? Says Olivia to Matt. No idea. They had no evidence. He moves the invoices on the table in front of him. Is that something there? Says Olivia. She walks over to the invoices and picks up the one he was deliberately pushing out of sight. Let's see, she says. This is for petrol. Why would you need petrol in the kitchen? She looks at him. Milo found out something, did he? About the death of Lady Bourbon. That connected to you, and you had to keep him quiet. Is that what happened, Matt? The chef still says nothing. I'm duty-bound to tell the police inspector about this when they arrive, which should be in the next few minutes. If you know something about the death of Milo, then now is the time to say. If he found evidence that you had a hand in Lady Bourbon's death 5 years ago, that evidence may be in his home, and the police will find it. It wasn't me, he says. I was collecting food trays from upstairs in the big house. Her ladyship's bedroom door was open. I walked up. I could see inside. Her husband was holding the pillow over her face. I watched them until her legs stopped moving. Then he turned round and saw me. He paid me 10 grand to keep quiet. And he sorted all the police stuff out too. And what about Milo? He'd found out about what I saw. I don't know how. One of the other staff, maybe. He told me 2 weeks ago, and I went to see Lord Bourbon. He said he'd buy me a restaurant here in London if I made sure Milo died. I put the petrol can under his van. I knew he'd be here. He's always in the car park trying to see Violet. Lord Bourbon got a detonator from his groundsman. They use them on animal traps. Okay. Shall we go outside, Matt? Says Olivia. I'll help you make a formal statement to the police. The Street Files, a complete mystery short story, every Wednesday.